Welcome to CLIC Connect. I'm your host, Craig Sullivan, and today we've got a very good friend, a wonderful human being, a great attorney, and he just had a birthday. So everybody DM him on LinkedIn and wish him a happy birthday. Mr. Russ Savrann from Sandman and Savrann. Russ, how are you, my friend, and welcome to the show.
Hey, Craig. Thanks for the shout out on my birthday. I'm not counting anymore. In
Neither
reverse.
am I.
Thanks for not asking me what year I am.
Nope, wouldn't do that, my friend.
No. Really appreciate the shout out, and looking forward to having a fireside chat, so to speak, with you. Talking a little bit about the industry and how people can save some money in this inflationary times.
Absolutely. You know, in talking about saving money, that is really important for every hotel operator, owner, investor right now. So, before we get into that, Russ, would you do me a favor and tell the audience about yourself and your firm and this new company?
Sure. Salmon Savrann, Irv Salmon, myself, and Daniel Benavides have a law firm that all we do is work with hotels exclusively, nationally. We have 40 offices supporting us and about 1,500 lawyers, and we are involved in all aspects of hotels, which is a segue to what's a lawyer doing talking about operations. Irv, Sam, and myself have another company that's an affiliate called Risa Hospitality Solutions. And through Risa, we provide consulting, advisory services, and we work in strategic partnerships with other people, which is the segue to some of the products and issues and solutions for those issues that we have found that work really well, and they're in use. So it's with that that connectivity, the fact that being in the industry for as long as we have, both Irvin and myself have had ownership stakes in hotels. We've worked with operators every day, and through this 20 plus year relationship with people running hotels and owning hotels, the people they complain to are their lawyers. And so we are on the front line of hearing what the problems are. And then we have always gone out with the attitude of providing services to the industry. Irv and I run the Northeast Hotel Investment Forum, the Northwest Hotel Investment Forum. Those are not legal events. They're there to have panels that provide answers and solutions and education to hotel owners and operators and developers and brands. And
Nice.
It's through that we've learned a few things.
And you're constantly teaching me new things. We had a tremendous phone call yesterday, as a matter of fact, and it was a lot of fun. It reminded me of all the other times that we've been on the phone or at conferences talking.
Sure.
So tell me, how can you save money for your clients? And is it worth chasing pennies? Everybody's busy right now. What's that look like?
Well, we've had such a long cycle of things looking good that there are, in fact, money that is there for taking that people are not need to start looking for. So, for example, 5 minutes ago, I was on the phone with a client who said he just found $65,000 that was in Expedia that was owed to them, but that their GMs were sloppy in pursuing getting the payments back. $65,000.
Yeah.
And they only have a year to get that money. If you don't chase that money, a year goes by, it's gone. Expedia or other OTAs consider it their income. So there's money out there. I want to go through a couple other examples. I mean, with
Please.
So one of the big ones that we found is telecom, cable, internet. Those 5 or 6 bills we're finding, through a relationship that does these kinds of reviews and audits, and then manages the process. Hotels have multiple trunk lines coming in, telephone lines. They're not using them. They haven't used them for 10 years, but they're paying for them. Things like that. It's time to actually do essentially an audit of, are you spending money on things that you don't have to? That's saving. So I want to introduce everyone to this company that I'm working with, a fellow named Michael Amaral on, and Dustin Reneke owns it. It's called Ripple Point. So what is Ripple Point? Ripple Point is a tiny little company that has clients like Host, Remington, HEI, Atrium, Highgate, Aimbridge. I can go on, MCR. So it's not a new thing. It's out there.
Yeah.
Just introducing you to it. If you don't already know about it, you're crazy not to follow up with them. What they do is audit your telecom bills, 5 bills. They have 30 years of experience in all industries. They will get better pricing, probably better technology by the same providers, all brand standard. And we are finding, and those companies that I just mentioned are finding and have documented and publicized, and some of them, Host in particular, $10 to $15 or $7 to $15 per room per month.
Wow.
Free money.
Yeah.
Better service. The scale is intense. Host published an investor letter, which might get posted by Craig here for everyone to see, that says having a relationship with this company, Ripple Point, increased their stock value by $30 million. Their enterprise value, $30 million. And it costs them nothing. Zero cost, de minimis, zero risk. Yet with all of that, you bring the horse to water, and it's fundamentally frustrating to me. We went to a larger asset management company. We tested a random hotel for them. They gave us a hotel. Nice. 6 months later, nothing. We finally followed up, and the asset manager who this was assigned to said, "Oh, we sold the hotel." It's about all your hotels. Yeah. If you're an owner, an institutional owner, and your asset manager or your management companies aren't already doing this, ask them to.
Right.
It's your money.
Well,
yeah, I mean, it's insane.
That's it. Yep. It's their money. They need to, whether it's one asset or multiple assets, Russ, they need to ask, we've got more and more ownership that, are not getting lost in the weeds of the day-to-day ops. So what do? You need to look at every nickel, dime, penny that's out there and recover it.
Well, some of it's also processes that you just don't have the processes in place. So people, I gave, that's an example where, money is just being lost. It's being burnt. I'll give you 2 more examples. We did 158 rooms recently for REIT, 2 independent boutique hotels. We found them, Ripple Point found them $17.40 per room per month in savings. That's $33,000 a year. We did 2 Hampton Inns for another client, and we found them for 275 rooms, combined the two, $22,700 a year. And we've also just did a very skeptical management company, a small one, dragged it out for almost a year. Finally, begging and screaming, to a client, please do this. And they're saving $73,000 a year on 4 hotels. $73,000. Whose money is that?
Yeah,
it's the owner's money.
Exactly.
And we're running into some interesting problems. The management companies, they're not getting the money directly. I'm telling them, be proactive. Tell your owners you're doing something in this to deal with inflation. This is a low-hanging fruit. Doesn't cost you any money. If you find money, you're a hero. So,
well, exactly. And it is low-hanging fruit. And right now, with our economic conditions and interest rates and everything else, you're right. We had things too good too long, and you've got to do your due diligence, and you've got to be able to capture these funds. Now, you said that after the initial savings, they manage the IT program. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, that's a very good question because that goes to processes and processes that are just not in place with management companies or even asset managers. You know, all these management companies, large ones and companies and brands have IT people. They will often get you the rates, but they're really there to make sure everything's up and running, to make sure that it's set up properly. But that is different from managing the spend. Uh, there's a cycle out there. People will hire a consultant or have their own IT people, negotiate a contract with these providers. They'll get a good rate, they'll do their research. And then 5 years later, there's another consultant or the same consultants are back in the shop renegotiating the same contracts. Managing the IT, which is what this company Ripple Point does, and why Atrium has been a client for over 10 years after the initial savings was made, is they will look at every invoice every month. It's integrated with M3, it's integrated with Sage, and they prevent the telecom companies and providers from increasing their rates. They catch them every month. And if they don't, in 5 years, you'll be back with another consultant. So that is the difference. And they do that on a very de minimis $200, $250 a month like subscription.
Nice.
And it's not direct savings, it's preventing increases. That's also something important in an inflationary period. Everybody is throwing in fees and extra charges and things that and maybe you're not even getting your bandwidth. This is the kind of that's managing it. IT departments, from what I can gather, and I've talked to a number, they're not really equipped to look at every invoice for every hotel every month. That's managing.
Yeah.
You manage the payroll, they manage accounting. There are other departments that get managed, but not IT. Spend.
Yeah.
IT work, yeah, but spend, no.
And that's interesting and frightening all at the same time. Yeah, it's come on, Russ, we've got a bit of a IT issue and technology issue in hospitality, which we shouldn't have. We're a little afraid of things and all that. This program makes so much sense. Why isn't it more widely used? Why isn't that just like standard operating procedure for at least the asset managers?
Well, I mean, it's a funny question because it is widely used. It's just not being adopted by everybody that hears about it. It is adopted by HEI. It is adopted by MCR. It is adopted by Highgate, Aimbridge. I can go on and on and on. There's a lot of very big clients, and it's adopted outside the hospitality industry on even a larger scale. It's the skepticism often of the people who have been pitched things in the past. People who feel like they're this, they know it, they understand it, they've done it before. It's another one of the same things, and we find also that there's internal problems. You bring this to your IT people, and they're threatened by it. All right, am I going to lose my job if it turns out I didn't get the best pricing? What I tell, or the opposite, you have the best people in the world. You know how to read your P&L. You have a low number. Great. If you do this, it's no cost for a couple of hotels, and your IT people are killing it. Give them a promotion, pat on the back. Right. It's affirmation they're doing a good job.
Exactly.
In this one aspect. I'm sure they're doing a great job in many aspects, but in this one, maybe they are, maybe they're not. Give them the affirmation. However, we are finding that that is in a portfolio, there might be a handful of hotels that there's no savings. I'll go back to the example of the 2 Hampton Inns that we did. One hotel was saving, my notes here, $13.60 or something, and the other one was only saving $4. Still $4 per month per room, but the other one was 13. Combined savings, they're complex together, was at $22,000 a year. Pays for some housekeeping. It pays for the increase in the cost of something else that you're not able to charge for.
Exactly.
And the other reluctance, I hate to say it, but I talked to some people who are in ops, who are asset managers, and I said, well, what's the trouble here? And it's the nicest way to say it would be inertia. The less nice way to say it is, your GMs are just too darn busy to pull 5 bills. And they can't find the time to pull 5 bills out of the monthly spend that they do, or your controllers. That's a resistance. It's too much work.
Yeah.
But when they do, they're like, "Oh my God, there's actually $10 per month or this dollars per month savings." They're shocked.
Yeah, per key, and
Per
key.
key.
It's amazing how, I mean, if you go in there and you talk about, sensors and water flow and what the cost is, especially if you've got an on-premise laundry for the hotel, they'll jump on that in a heartbeat. But this is, I mean, you've got to have the ability to audit not only IT, but every department on a regular basis and look for that savings. It's absolutely critical right now. Now, one of my favorite things to talk about, and I know the landscape's changing on this, is credit cards. Do you guys have something that can help with credit card merchant services as well?
I do, but I want to make one back point to the tech Ripple point.
Sure.
And this was brought up by the CEO of a newly adopted, very large company. And he said the cost of paying a bill, each bill is about $40.
Yeah.
Yeah, $40 to $50. Having a company like Ripple Point manage the IT and do all the bills through M3 and Sage or whatever operating system you're using that's fully integrated means your accounting department is not physically touching any of those bills. It's being managed. There's a savings of $40 per bill. And that leads to other companies that I don't even know, I don't have a knowledge of, that could also potentially save you those accounting costs. It's just something to think about, and I should have brought it up on the first round.
That's a great point. I'm glad you did bring that up because, again, multiple asset ownership group. If you've got 200 hotels, okay, there's more money there, and you've got to beat the bushes, shake the trees, whatever you want to say, and find that. And having a company like Ripple Point being the vanguard of this and being able to get in there and do this is a tremendous benefit and a savings. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. Well, to get to credit cards, this is a kind of a scary area for a lot of people. It's a necessary evil. The industry runs on credit cards. We all know that. There are a lot of, there are a few very large players out there. Most of the large brands, have their relationships and for the franchisees or the mandatory, and you know what? They're great. They have the power to get the rates and keep the fees down, and that's one of the upsells for being a franchisee.
Right.
So that's great. What Brian Ehrlich, who's an industry person as well as I am, and I started hearing and talking to people about, especially independent luxury boutique hotels, about increased fees, that they're getting whacked by some of these providers. And again, I'm not going to go negative on anybody, but the industry is full. Look at lawsuits about credit cards, and you'll find lots of incidences where there's just no transparency. It's opaque. It's confusing. and yet there's money to send people to space. There's just it's troubling. So Brian and I found decided to try to solve a business issue. Can we be disruptors and find a company that has the horsepower to bring a real benefit to hotels at scale? And we did. We found a company called Pacific Bank Card, the reseller, which is a group called Rise Merchant Services, RYZE. What we do with them is we went to them and said, here's the problems that hotels are having. Help us solve these problems. And the product that we got out is competitive with the big boys. We are able to, or they are able to, provide on 85% of the hotels that we have gone to a savings. All right, some large, some small, but the savings. The other complaint that we're trying to solve is customer service.
Good.
Like so many other industries, the big players just don't have the nimbleness, the ability. They're too big. Whatever their reason, they're really a tech company. You get a ticket. 24, 48, 30, however many hours later, they'll send you a link to a web page to solve your own problem. Here's a tutorial how to fix the problem. You're trying to transition a newly bought hotel and get the credit cards processing up and running, and they send you a tutorial. You need a person. And so this company has gone old school and has customer service, real people. Every client is given an agent. They can call them at any time. The other issue that happens is very similar to the tech problem we just described, which is these companies increase their fees. They quote you a number,
Right.
and you say, okay, I got a good number. I got a 1.8. I got a 2. But that's really not how the industry works, because every hotel is unique in the type of credit cards that their customers are using, and every credit card has a different cost. So you can't just say, I'm going to get a flat rate and have it work for hotels. It works for really small business, but for hotels, that it only hurts the hotel because they have to set the fixed rate up high. Well, given the bills change from month to month based on the allocation of who's using what kind of credit cards, the pricing is a little bit of an art more than a science.
Okay.
At the same time, what they do is the bills, the way they structure things, it's level after level, it's this and that. They put in fake stuff or unexplained charges. And that's, again, goes to management. Every month, somebody should be looking at your bill. You should learn. We want to train people initially every month, as long as they want it. Somebody human will go through the bill with them, so they learn how to read the credit card invoices to find hidden charges, increased charges. We just had a client, luxury boutique hotel, that is saving a lot of money. They just got online maybe 3 months ago, and Elevon hit them with an increased charge. And we're like, guys, they just got signed on. What's going on?
Yeah.
They said, oh, we're supposed to give you notice. We missed the notice. We got it reversed.
Yeah.
How did we get it reversed? Why could we get it reversed? Because Rise Merchant Services is at the same desk at Elevon as Marriott and Hilton.
Right.
That is the level of support that this company is getting because of the hotel expertise that's on board, and also the back company, the engine behind it, had a multi-billion-dollar client, big hospital system. So all the processors know that this company knows what it's doing. Again, back of the house,
There you
not
go.
me. They
Yeah.
know what they're doing. They can't be snowed. They are looking for scale, and with being disruptors in the hotel industry, we hope to give them scale. What Who does this work for, really? Independent hotels, smaller, brands that are not Hilton, IHG, or Marriott or Hyatt. That they can look at their entire, franchise opportunity and come to a company like us and say, let's see what you can do compared to what we're getting. And it can, because of the relationship with Elevon and at the place where we are with them, they know how to integrate entire systems. I mean, that's what they've been doing. It's the hotel brand people. And that's
Right.
important because
Right.
they know all the POS systems. They know how to get your former or existing merchant off the books, even though they say you can't fire us. You can. Everything's there's no.
Right.
It may take longer, might be a little more complicated, but of course they're not giving up their spaceships seats without a fight, or
Exactly.
other things,
Exactly.
Um, and when we get back to it, at the end of the day, it really comes down to customer service, fighting for
Eh,
those, the charge that's being challenged,
Right.
that the onboarding after buying a hotel. The I keep on going back to that one because we just lived it. Client bought a full service Hilton, and on a Friday. That's always a big mistake.
Yeah.
And of course, there was a problem, and it, it was very difficult for them to get the customer service that they needed. It was very frustrating. That comes back to why Brian, we created helped create this company to solve that problem.
Absolutely, and I think it's a must. I mean, Pacific Bank Card. This is somebody that I've been looking for to be part of the California Lodging Investment Conference for at least the past almost 3 years now, because I just see, a ton of issues and concerns out there that I know that you're addressing, and I'll give you a second on that, quickly. But, I mean, with our conference, we pride ourselves on having the small mom and pops there that may have one or two flagged hotels, mid-cap companies, and the large companies there. One of your clients, Aimbridge, is a founding sponsor of my conference. But how are you addressing all of these concerns with the small cap company in particular?
Well, that's just it. The where Rise Merchant Services is a boutique. I hate the word bespoke, but that's what it is. We're not trying to be the biggest provider in the world. We want to just service the industry that we are in. We
Yeah,
love the hotel. We're hoteliers who do other things. I'm a hotelier with a law degree,
right.
uh, but here I am talking to the audience about solving hotel problems, not legal problems, hotel problems, and
Right.
that's had it been born on a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday, maybe I'd be doing those jobs. Uh, Plenty of my colleagues when I was at Starwood were lawyers who weren't practicing law; they were doing development or other things. So
Right.
uh, don't hold me too much to account for being a lawyer.
You're a great attorney, and I think it's a blessing
Yeah.
for the
And,
industry.
just
So,
for the record, I don't believe we do legal work for Aimbridge, but we know them very, very well.
okay,
So we do a lot of work for Highgate.
nice.
All right. So the I guess the summary on the credit card thing really comes down to being able to bring big company pricing to the smaller independent hotels, the luxury boutiques, the you know like I said, the smaller brands with two or three hotels under a common name, the portfolios, And I don't want to name names, but we also recently brought it to a fairly large brand, and we did a comparison. There, roughly 100 hotels, maybe more, maybe less. I don't want to make it obvious who it is. And we were able to go through their system, and we found $500,000 a year in savings.
Wow.
Half a
$500,000.
million. So when we went to the hotel company, to be honest with you, the hotel people were like, thanks for the call, Russ, Brian.
Yeah.
See you at Alice. When we went to the ownership asset management and said, we want to introduce you to this program too, they said, there is so much savings there. I have a fiduciary duty to look into this.
There you go.
Then when the owners went to the brand, people running the brand, it was a completely different story. Then all of a sudden it's like, let's have a meeting. Let's look at our books. Let's see if you really do have something there. And we found $500,000. $500,000. I mean, that's enough to make a difference. So they said, wow, we can use that money for something else that we need to do.
Right.
And that's how they're looking at it. And that comes down to the whole thing about, in an inflationary time period like we're in now.
Yep.
If you're not looking to save money on every bill, I'm just talking about the biggies, the ones that are sort of automated. These things don't cost you money to look at. They don't cost you money to implement. But, for every landscape contractor that decides to sell, charge you more, or cartage or linen or this or that you really can't negotiate very much, go to where you can. I'm sharing with you, Craig, and the industry, that a company like Ripple Point is been out there for forever, being used by a lot of the industry.
Yeah.
And it's proven. So, I'm trying not to do too hard to sell, but it's like, to me, it's like getting a report that there's money at the state that belongs to you and not bothering to make the phone call to get the money. It's there. It's your money.
Yeah, it is their money, and that's what they need to understand. And why they don't is beyond me. But what are the challenges you're seeing, for adoption on this? I mean, we know that everybody's understaffed and overworked. Okay, we did a labor panel at CLIC, and one of our panelists is a GM, and he said, let me give you an example of how this affects your hotel not being staffed properly. You've got one person getting ready to get off at 10 o'clock at night. You're an airport hotel, and you get a phone call from an airline. Hey, we had to cancel a flight. We're sending 200 people over. And this person doesn't know if their night auditing team's coming in or not. They want to go home, and they're saying no. Okay, you're losing money there. So talk to us about adoption on this, and then we'll wrap things up.
I think as a lawyer, we spend a lot of time. My wife says that you really should be a psychologist. You really are a psychologist. It's phenomenally confusing to me why people don't, ask their staff or have first of all, if it's too hard for somebody to pull credit card statements or pull technology invoices, then you have to ask yourself, what's wrong with your systems? It should be easy to pull those kinds of contracts from your hotels. It should be something you can do remotely from your corporate office. That said, yes, everyone is busy, but I believe when there's a return on the investment for your time, and you're asking somebody to spend 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes at some point, not on an urgent time, to pull some data, to me, that's your return on the investment is worth making that person do it. It just comes down to that. The challenges we run into is probably the best way to describe it is inertia. It's something we don't have built into our schedule, so it makes it uncomfortable perhaps for the people who are working in the hotel have to admit, I have a hard time finding the bills, which they should. They're paying them, but can they get a copy of them?
Exactly.
You know, it makes them look bad, perhaps. You know, I think a lot of it's just protecting themselves. Same for the IT people. Yeah, I can tell you an anecdote on that where a person who worked at Marriott, who helped implement this for Host, went to another big branded company and
Okay.
said, I know this program works. This is a great program. It's an IT guy. And his internal big brand IT partners, corporate people said, not interested. So he went to the 6 or 7 hotels that were under his IT responsibility, went to the GMs and had them do this.
Yeah. Good.
Had the data. They were saving roughly $10 per room per month.
Love it. Love
Real
it.
money. Brought it to the senior most person in the company with a memo saying, this is empirical data. These are your hotels. And yet it's not making it through your IT department to your desk.
Yeah, that's going to change quickly.
Well, ironically, I don't know where it went. That's all I'm going to say. But the point is that often your internal priorities of these companies may be different than, like during COVID. I'll give you an example. I talked to a very large asset management company, and immediately the person who's in charge says, I get it. I can take that money, multiply it by X number of hotels in this many rooms. It's a lot of money.
Right.
And he said, this is during COVID, though. He goes, we just don't have the time to do it. I know it's a real thing. I know it will save me money. We should be doing it. It's just we're overwhelmed just trying to stay alive during COVID. Well,
Right.
COVID is essentially over now.
Over. Yeah.
It's over. And yes, people are stressed, and the hotels, a lot of them are doing well. Group business is coming back, but the pressure is on cost. Payroll's going up, costs are going up, and I think it's really has to be a priority to look at some of these kinds of things and say, well, what return on my investment to spend a little bit of time learning about it and doing a test, I think would give a good result. And I wouldn't be talking to you in front of all these people to make a fool out of myself. I mean, this is, go ask Host, go ask,
Exactly. You've got the case studies.
Ask Remington, ask Atrium, ask HEI. I mean, these people have been doing it, and they're big fans.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of all those companies, Remington in particular. I mean, Chris Green over there is a tremendous human being. So
yeah, I mean, I can't really talk numbers that that are
right.
Confidential, but I can tell you, somebody's a hero over there for doing this.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's real money. And looking through their portfolio, to the point I made earlier, that if you look at just one hotel, you may not find the savings, but in that portfolio, I think there are only half a dozen at most that didn't have $7 to $15 a month savings on doing the program. Of course, it stabilizes, and then you have to keep it down.
Right.
But
absolutely,
there's real money.
There is. My friend, we are just about out of time. So 2 things. What, as an industry leader, what do you want to tell the rest of the industry about Ripple and these services? And then how about a shameless plug?
Well, as an industry leader, and thank you for calling me that, I would say that Ripple Point, Rise Merchant Services, and there are other companies out there that I'm not in a position to talk about, but I've, like what I referred to earlier about finding the money from Expedia, doing reverse pace, doing
Nice.
what's the other one? Allocations, tax allocations. Maybe it's time to go to one of those firms. There are people out there who, if you really squeeze the lemon, we'll find some juice. And I think it's a good time to do that because you're under so many other pressures. Your interest rates go up on your next deal. I mean, it's a lot of pressure on money, and cash is dear. So if you can find cash, I'd suggest now is a good time to allocate some time to talking to your financial people about looking at credit cards, looking at IT. Look at these reoccurring costs and say, am I getting the very best pricing I possibly can? Look at utilities. I had another client that just discovered that they were being overbilled for a year because no one really read the utility bill properly and saw that they're being double charged. And they're looking, for consultants to help them going forward to work on their utilities. It's in all these different categories. They should be looked at.
I couldn't agree more with you, Russ. Each and every category they need to look at. And there is a lot of them out there to go through. But you allocate the time and the resources. This will pay off, and it will bring you a lot of return on your investment. I couldn't agree more with you, Russ. Shameless plug. How can people get a hold of you?
Just go to the online. My number is there, but it's 203-215-5186. I'm giving Craig some materials to post on these two companies. The contact people who are direct with the companies are right on those materials. I'll be honest with you, I am not the technical expert on IT. I'm not the technical expert on credit card processing. So I'm happy to lead everyone to the right place. And, at the end of the day, Irv Sandman and myself and Daniel Benavides are lawyers who support the hotel industry. We help people buy and sell hotels, find capital, do management. We deal with operational problems. We're national and international. Craig, I just got back from South America. It's a really it's a great industry to be able to play in. And I know you agree with me on that. It's just so much fun.
Love it. I love it.
It's fun. There's never a boring day. There's always something.
Always something new, and it is just every conference that I'm at that's outside of hospitality. I start out the same way by telling everybody that I work in the best part of commercial real estate in the best industry in existence, and that is hospitality. And sometimes that's fighting words with some of these events that I'm talking at, but hey, it is what it is. Thank you, my friend. I truly appreciate you making time. I really do. This means the world to me. Russ, you've got an open invitation to come back and rejoin the conversation anytime you want to. Producer Danny's going to drop those slides into the show, and we'll, we can put them up on the CLIC blog as well. So, Russ, thank you very, very much again.
And thank you, Craig, for inviting me to be on your show. It's been a blast.
Anytime. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. Now, great information. You got to save every dollar you possibly can. So pass this show on to your internal staff and team. Get together with them, get some brainstorming done, and work on this. I can't stress this enough. This is something very positive for all of you to start participating in and bringing back money in under your hotel, your company. It's amazing what you can find out there. So thank you for joining us. I do want to thank Red Roof Franchising for participating in the show. And I also want to thank our friends at Chicago Title National Commercial Services Group for participating in the show as well. They've been great to us, and thank you very much. And thank you for watching. And remember, be kind, share your knowledge. Now go be amazing.